So we want to write a program that will find the largest of three numbers. So we're going to start with our plan. So I'll do a hash to say don't run this code, this is just a plan. So I want to start by saying that I want to enter three numbers. I could do this separately, but in my plan I'm just going to say enter three numbers. Well, what do I want to do after that? Well, the next thing is I need to work out which one is the largest. Calculate the largest. And finally, I just need to output the result or print the result. So that's my plan. So let's start at the beginning. I want to enter three numbers. Well, they're going to be input statements, but I've got to store them somewhere. So let's say num1 input, and I have a prompt to the user, enter any number. And I'm just going to put a space there so that when it comes up on the screen, there's a bit of space and make it look a little neater. And I just want to do this 3 times, so let's not bother typing it 3 times. Let's just do a copy and paste. All right. Now I don't want to store it in the same thing. I want to store it as different numbers. So I've got number 2 and 3. I could say enter another number, enter another number. I'll just leave it there. That's simple. So now I want to calculate them. So when I need the computer to do something, make a decision, I really need an if statement. So if, now let's just start by comparing the first two. If number 1 is greater than number 2, then I want to do something. Well, if that's true, then I know that the number 1 is the bigger of those two. So all I need to do is compare it with the last one. So let's compare it again. Let's do another if number 1 is bigger than number 3. Do something. Well, if it's bigger than number 2 and bigger than number 3, then we know it's the biggest. So I can say print let's have the largest number is, and I'm going to put num1 there. We can do a little run check if that works. Now it's only going to work. So what I got wrong here is I need to say that I want to combine this. So I want to combine the text here with what I've got here. So I put a plus in there. So let's try running that again. I could put a comma would work as well. Okay, so it's only going to work if the first one's the biggest currently because I haven't coded any of the rest. So we'll make sure the first is bigger. And it says the largest number is 4. Well, that seems to work. So now how am I going to make it work if 1 isn't the biggest? Well, let's now assume that number 1 was bigger than number 2, but wasn't bigger than number 3. I can do that by else. That means that number 1 was bigger than 2, but then number 3 was bigger than 1. Well, if 3 is bigger than 1 and 1 is bigger than 2, then 3 also must be bigger than 2, and it must be the biggest. So I can print that the largest number is the third one. All right, what other options are there? Well, what if number 2 was bigger than number 1? So that would be an else here. Now, if number 2 is bigger than number 1, I really do need to check if 2 is bigger than 3. So if num2 is bigger than num3, well, if the else is saying that 2 is bigger than 1, and then this is saying that 2 is bigger than 3, so that must mean that 2 is the biggest. So I should be able to paste that in there again and say that now number 2 is the biggest. And I've got one last result. So I could have number 2 being the biggest here, but not being the biggest here, which means that 3 is bigger than 2, and 2 is bigger than 1, so 3 must be the biggest. So else. Now, we could construct each of these as a set of different if statements